Say again?
I talked to Laura Murray.
Okay.
Anyway, we were thinking of possibly having sugar on Saturday evening. And I don't know who can do that, or whether you have someone else that would be able to preside over that.
Depending on the time, I might be able to join you.
We don't have a time set.
Whatever was convenient.
Whatever would be what's appropriate, what time good for anybody. So that's why.
So, let me just speak with my wife, just because we have, and I want to see what time so I can make sure to be back in time.
Okay, no problem. Josh has a sense. Would you probably know? Well, there's a lot of going on with that with the weird. Well, because it's basically your
For me, it's the, I mean, your spot guys, no.
Saturday.
Yeah, that's tomorrow.
That's
Well, yeah, it's up to you. I mean, it's Laura said she wanted to help with it. All she did was say.
Yeah, she did.
Okay.
We went to high school, didn't we? Graduated same year as the class, 1966.
What do you know? I have the screen going, by the way.
Okay. That's awesome. That's great. said, she don't eat breakfast. She had never eaten breakfast. Not that it wasn't great food, but she just didn't eat. So I said, okay, I'll be there for this. I was there every day.
Sure.
And she says, okay, she says, I said, I love you. And she said, I love you. It was last time. It was really hard. But she tried, it was just hard every day. She was never comfortable. She had tubes in it. And she tried to lay down and test her. It was like, that's not what she wanted. She wanted her to be happy. So she did hospice. Despite the fact that it said, you want to take us? No. You can't take it.
I just told Ms. Maya it was a real.
Okay,
I
okay.
just wanted to tell you about it.
We're going to have a show tomorrow night.
I asked Eugene what shirts that was. She didn't know.
Yeah, the show is nothing to do.
Sure.
But it's Bravo.
Nice.
Hi. Yes. Yeah. How are you? Yeah. Right. She's 90. She went to the hospital. And then she passed away in 2030. For the winter. She was in the hospital for 11 months and she couldn't. Just couldn't. A lot of times she go to her. I think that everything gets good. I never. You're so fortunate to have something like that. And you're the best kid ever. Yeah, it is what it is. But I had 35, actually 35, and she gave me 13. All the kids, it's funny, she had her son before, but at that time there were 2 grandchildren. Now there are 8 grandchildren and 9 grandchildren. So things were, she was just great. She raised my kids. As her mother, well, Doug. His mother did the same for 10 years. It was a great choice because he was kind of late. She was a mother, a wife. She did real estate, like that. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't know she said that. Did you like that?
Oh, yeah.
Well, we had Christmas trees, Hanukkah, Easter, Passover, because in Hanukkah you get every 3 days. You get Christmas, then you get birthdays. She had it all. And she liked Hanukkah. She liked it. We were, this country has a Russian people judging people, which is why they were doing it. So those it would be great. She and I did. I will see you later. Hopefully you can make it later too.
So
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you for being here. My name is Rabbi Ari Goldstein, and welcome to Temple Beth Shalom if this is your first time. And we're gathered here in this time and place to say goodbye to a loved one who only a short time ago was walking the way with us and who blessed us with her presence and inspired us and cared for us. And we are reluctantly here to say goodbye to her. We know that this is the place we must be, but we don't want to be here. We would rather have Barbara by our side, talking to us and connecting with us and inspiring us. And that's the place we'd rather be, but we're here. And we use this as an opportunity to meditate on her life and the legacies that she leaves behind for us, and to honor her with words from our Jewish tradition and then later from her tradition. Psalm 16. The Hebrew begins, Shiviti Adonai lenegdi tamid. I have set the eternal always before me. God is at my side, I shall not be moved. Therefore does my heart exult and my soul rejoice. My being is secure, for you will not abandon me to death, nor let your faithful ones see destruction. You show me the path of life, your presence brings fullness of joy. Enduring happiness is your gift. Indeed, death has taken our beloved Barbara. Our friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence, there is lamentation, and in their loneliness, tears. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends, you. So for Barbara's life and love that united us in life, and which death cannot sever, and for her companionship that we shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory, and for the gifts of her heart and her mind, which brought us joy and happiness, and which is now a precious memory. For all these and more, we give our thanks to God. Psalm 1. It begins in Hebrew, Ashrei Ha'ish Asher Lo Halach Ba'atzat Rishaim. Happy are those who have not followed the counsel of the wicked, nor taken the path of sinners, nor joined the company of the insolent. Rather, the teaching of God is her delight, and she studies that teaching day and night. She's like a tree planted beside a stream of water that yields its fruit in season, whose foliage never fades and whose fruit always flourishes. And another psalm, this one powerful and familiar, and I certainly encourage you to join me in the English if you know it. I'm going to share with you the whole Hebrew. It's really beautiful. This is Psalm 23. And then again afterwards, please feel free to join me in the English if you know it. But the Hebrew starts this way, or goes this way. Adonai ro'i lo echsar. Bino tedesha yarbitzeni ame menuchot yinachaleni nafshi yishovev. Yancheni v'ma'agleit tzedek l'ma'an shemo. Gam ki elech begeit salmavet lo irara ki ata imadi. Shivtecha mishantecha hema yinachamuni. Aruch lefanai shulchan neged sororai dishanta vashemen roshi kosiruvaya. Ach tov v'chesed yirdefuni kol yemei chayai v'shavti b'veit Adonai le'orech yamim. Please join me if you know this. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I'll fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And this one from Proverbs. First line in Hebrew, Eshet chayil mi yimtza, but the rest of it in English, a woman of valor who can find. She is more precious than fine pearls. Her husband trusts in her, and so he lacks nothing. She does him good, never harm, all the days of her life. She perceives that her labor is rewarding. Her candle burns on into the night. She reaches out to those in need and extends her hands to the poor. She is clothed in strength and dignity, and she faces the future cheerfully. She speaks with wisdom. The law of kindness is on her lips. Her children rise up and bless her. Her husband sings her praises. Many daughters have done valiantly, but you excel them all. And one final expression, at least for the time being, from our tradition. It's from the book of Job. And if you are unfamiliar with Job, it's a tragic tale, a biblical tragic tale about a man who is blessed with so many things. He's blessed with a home and a family and good health and sustenance. And he thanks God every single day for all of the blessings that are in his life. And God is so proud of Job and says, look at how my dear, precious Job always praises me for all that's good in his life. And then it's asked, yeah, but what would happen if you took it all away? Do you think he'd still praise you? And God's certain yes. And so that's just what happens. God takes it all away. The health, the family, the sustenance. And in his sorrow, Job cries out famous words. He says, Adonai natan v'Adonai lekach yihi shem Adonai mivorach. It means God has given, God has taken away. Blessed be the name of God. We are an ancient people well acquainted with grief and with the valley of shadows. Death and sorrow are not strangers to us. And yet, the centuries have taught us that a good name endures beyond the grave and that there's strength in faith. And so with Job and like Job, we say, Adonai Natan. O God, you have given. You gave us Barbara, a loved one, a cherished wife and mother and grandmother and great-grandmother. And sister, of course. An in-law and friend. And for all that was good and enduring in her life, we offer the deepest thanks of our hearts. And yet at the same time, we know that we're forced to also say, Adonai lekach, O God, you've taken from us. And we pray for the strength to turn our broken hearts into an altar of trust. And so, hopefully, over time, like Job, we can also say, Yihi Shem Adonai Mivorach. Blessed be God's name now and forever. There are a number of people who would like to share some words with us today. You may be one of them, but unless we have already spoken or corresponded, not here. You can do that later. But here we'd like to call on 4 people. I'll call them one at a time. And so for the first to share some words first, Kendall, would you like to go first? What's that? Just you, not Carrie's. Lori, I think, is doing, yeah.
Well, I look around here and I see everyone. And it's just a testament to Mom. I wanted to sit down and write down a list of attributes on a scroll and just kind of roll it out, and it'd be so long that all of her qualities and the greatness about her. But I think we all already know them. For those of you who I've never met before, I'm Kendall. I'm her son, and if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be where I am today. And part of that is because of her dedication, that mentality of not giving up when life shows up and finding a way when there is no way in life. I was born with a rare metabolic disorder called PKU, and there was no treatment at the time. And if it wasn't for her dedication to controlling what I eat, anyways, as a little kid, people asked me if I wouldn't have got the treatment that I ended up getting. They asked me, where would you be? I said, in an institution somewhere. So I thank God every day for her, all the things she's done for my life. Even when life showed up for her, she never gave up. She always found a way to get through things. And then later in life, she met Lou. And they've been together almost 35 years. And I look around and I look at all the people that are in this room. They all can stand up here and say something wonderful about her. And all the things that she's done and touched people's lives. She's been an amazing woman. And I know that I always think about, he read the 23rd Psalm, and I know that Mom guided us all through our lives. There was times where she reached out and corrected us, but I also know that, this is just, it's just a season that we're going through. Death is part of that transition into heaven, into God's presence. So I know where she is. I know that she's with God, and that gives me comfort at this time. Yes, it's still hard. Every time someone asks me or touches me, I want to tear up. But I thank God for her every day. I think all of us wish we would have been more present, but that's okay. And I think it's ironic, as the last few days of her life came, she got to see everyone, all of her kids, her grandkids, whether it was over the phone or FaceTime, she got to see everyone she needed to see. Probably one of the touchingest things that kind of just made me smile was my son, Matt. When he was in her room, everyone's, Matt, if you don't know Matt, Matt's not one that shows his affection a whole lot. But he went over to her bedside, she reached up like this, and they did this. And that just, she knew how to touch people. She knew what was right, and I think they have a special bond that no one knows about. And we're going to miss her, and we love her, and I just thank everyone that's in this room for being here. Thank you.
I wish to call upon Tirza at this time to share some words also.
Hi, everyone. My name's Tirza Austin. I'm the oldest granddaughter. Not the oldest grandchild, but the oldest granddaughter. I know reading is probably not the best thing, but to get through this, I'm going to read what I wrote about my grandmother. Thank you all for coming to celebrate Barbara's life. I had the honor of writing my grandmother's obituary and calling many of you to notify you when the celebration of life would be. Thank you all for helping contribute to her obituary. It was a really wonderful thing to understand all of the great things and accomplishments that she has done, and also offering your condolences. I realized as I spoke to so many of you how large her network was, and how many people cared for her, and how many people she cared for. She invested in people's lives, and it really shows. She had a much larger impact outside of our family than I realized, and I thank you all for being here and being involved in her life. She spoke of many of you, but I never envisioned a time where I wouldn't have her here to explain how each individual had touched her life. I knew she valued community and volunteerism, but I didn't understand the full scope until I was sent a list on Wednesday of all the committees that she had served on in just one organization. Can anyone guess how many committees she served on for Anne Arundel Council of Realtors? No, it was 37. 37 committees. And I have the whole list, so if anyone wants it, I can share it with you, because they did send it over. And it was very impressive. And that was in addition to many other volunteering opportunities she had in other capacities. So that is something that really should be celebrated. She was a selfless individual that cared for so many, and we can see that by all the people in this room and the people at the viewing last night and the people that will mourn for her going forward. She was a celebrated realtor, and I had no idea she was involved in so many organizations, and she actually held 4 prestigious realtor credentials, 4 of them. I had no idea. That's not something we talked about, and I think that's something that really should be celebrated. She was very humble and never spoke with me about how successful she was professionally, but she really was. If you notice laughters and smiles as we move forward throughout the day, as an immediate family, we have mourned, cried, sobbed, and hugged this week, and now it is time to celebrate her life. That's what she would have wanted. She has been supported by her husband, Lou, and all 3 of her children, my mom, Lori, and Uncle Kendall and Doug, and their spouses, Lonnie and Kathy, since she was admitted to the hospital over a month ago. When the family heard she would not recover, we really rallied. As of Sunday, she had her husband, 3 children, and their spouses, 7 grandkids, with additional spouses and great-grandkids support her at the hospital for 3 days to say goodbye. As she transitioned to a better place, the hospital staff was alarmed with the crowd present. As I reflect, this was truly a beautiful time, supporting Grandma and our fellow loved ones. I hope we can continue that in the future, and I will say she truly had a wonderful life. And I think that was very obvious and present at the hospital as we all celebrated and rallied around her. My grandmother faced many trials throughout her life. She was truly a strong and independent woman. These traits were inherited by her beautiful daughter, my mother, Lori, and all of her granddaughters, Lydia, Jamie, Abby, Sarah, and Bereath, and her great-daughters, and her great-granddaughters as well. As I got older, she shared many stories with me, and I was always inspired by her stories of the many trials she's faced. I think of her grandchildren and great-grandchildren in this room. As I think of all of the great-grandchildren and grandchildren in this room, I think we all agree that we were lucky to have her as a grandma. She had my mother very early on in life, and as a 35-year-old, I'm lucky to have experienced a very special and shifting relationship with my grandma that many probably don't experience. She was a childhood grandma. I remember her attending each and every play I participated in, making crafts, and even bringing home swag from conferences. She would say, "This is free stuff for you," that she got at a conference. And she was so excited about it. And then when she brought things home and presents from Kohl's, she would always ask, "Guess how much this cost?" And she would explain to us that it was on sale, and then she had a coupon, and then she had Kohl's cash, so it was only 39 cents. We always referred to her as the Kohl's grandma. She was very frugal, and I wish that was something I had inherited, but unfortunately I didn't. My cousin Jamie and I were very privileged to have Lou and Barbara as landlords in the house that was previously owned by great-grandma Helen during college. Our roommates called her B. Zietz, which at the time I thought was much funnier than it is now, I guess. I don't know. I've had so many friends through the years tell me how cool my grandma was. This week I received so many condolences from friends who personally knew and respected my grandma. How many people can say that their friends had a personal relationship with their grandma and really thought she was the coolest person ever? And that is absolutely true. Two stories that stick out to me to this day. I thought about excluding this one, but I'll tell this one anyways. One time my grandmother was at the house in College Park, and she was doing yard work and cleaning up, and she decided that she was dirty and she was going to take all her clothes off and put them in the washer. My roommate came home and saw her in her underthings. like, BZs, what are you doing? And she was like, "I had to wash my clothes, they were dirty." And they gave me a very hard time about that. We laughed about that for a long time. But she was just such a transparent person that she was. I also remember her walking into the living room one day at College Park, and she saw my roommate's huge stiletto heels on the floor. And my roommate at the time was a Miller Lite girl, so she would get dressed up and do this. And she looked at the shoes and she said, "What are those?" And I said, "Those are Ashley's work shoes." And she looked at me and she goes, "What is she doing for work?" And we're like, "Grandma, she's just a Miller Lite girl." Anyways, as an adult, I had a very special relationship with her. She was always unhinged with her sense of humor, and I think I inherited that from her. I could call her and talk openly about anything that was going on. We were always very transparent and shared many inappropriate jokes that I can't say here. One story that I will tell you is, as many of you know, I may not be great at answering phone calls or responding to texts. Later on in her life, anytime my grandma called, she was the only person I'd pick up for. Sorry, Mom. Sorry, Pearl. I would always pick up for Grandma because I didn't know how much longer the phone would ring and I could talk to her. So one day I was sitting at a work conference, and I saw that she called, and I left the conference to talk to her. She was calling me because she was left with a piece of cheese and an inappropriate drawing that was slapped on her front door. And she was calling me, asking if I did it. My response was, "Grandma, why did you think it was me?" And she responded, "Who else would have done it?" I love that we had such an open and fun relationship. My grandma was always the life of any party or any endeavor. My grandmother was the most vibrant, hilarious, sacrificial, and caring person I will ever know. She would give everything she had for each and every one of us as grandchildren and as great-grandchildren. I hope that all of us can strive to be more like her in that way. The biggest thing I will miss about her is being able to call her when I was upset. I knew she would always pick up the phone and give me great advice. We had a special relationship that I truly cherish. In conclusion, my grandmother loved everyone in this room so dearly, and I'm so sad she can't be here to see all of the great-grandkids together. It has been wonderful watching each and every one of you connect and bond, and I know that she wishes that she would have been here, and I'm sorry that it took this to get all of us in the same room. She would have been so delighted. But I know she is looking down and enjoying every laughter from every great-grandchild in this room. She really did have a wonderful life, and I hope you can join me in celebrating her each and every day, and thank you everyone for being here. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I'd like to call upon Lori now to read something that Carrie wrote.
Carrie Thomas can't be with us today, but sent this beautiful, I did inherit my mom's stature, I believe. This gathering today would bring joy to Barbara's heart. It is wonderful to see this outpouring of love for her. We have heard and will hear countless expressions of her character today by many people, here publicly and in our private conversations and remembrances. All of them will be true. The character trait that I want to focus on is caring. Although Barbara's middle name could have been kindness, I think her legacy is caring. I come to this moment with the following context. Born 1 year and 13 days before me, Barbara was my big sister. Our childhoods were intertwined. I walked with her to school every day and watched her participation in church, Girl Scouts, 4-H club, and more. She was an honor roll student. She tried to learn to play the violin. She took me to teen club and attempted to teach me to dance. I was so proud at High Point High School football games to see my sister, the pretty short blonde, performing on the field as a pom-pom girl with the marching band. She was enormously popular, but always took time to care for me and our younger brothers, Wayne and Pat. The zenith of her caring occurred in her adult years. As a young mother, her son Kendall was born with PKU, a serious disease that required immediate specialized care. At only 20 years old, with 2 small children, she drove to Baltimore to Johns Hopkins Medical Center for regular treatments and blood tests for him. She also cared for elderly women from her church, many of them living alone. With her brothers, Pat and Wayne, she cared for our father through his 5-year battle with cancer. And after Dad passed, she, again with her brothers, cared for our mother for 28 years until Mom's passing in 2018. Barbara would have been the perfect nurse. Barbara's caring carried over to her children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, friends, neighbors, and even real estate clients. Her real estate practice was very successful, in part because she worked hard and sometimes contributed financially for buyers and sellers who needed help to finalize a transaction. Everyone gathered here has experienced her caring spirit. Each of us has received countless cards from Barbara: birthday, wedding, anniversary, Christmas, get well, and more. And even when her health struggles plagued her daily life, each of her text messages began with, "How are you doing?" No one could have cared more for others than Barbara did. I want to close this eulogy with the words that the Wizard of Oz said to the Tin Man. And remember, my sentimental friend, that a heart is not judged by how much you love, but by how much you are loved by others. By this measure, Barbara's heart was enormous. And as we leave this place, we can best honor Barbara's legacy by dedicating ourselves to caring for each other every day. That way, we will remember Barbara forever.
Thank you so much. And finally, I'd like to invite Lou up to share some words as well.
Yeah, Barbara and I would have been married a total of 35 years on May 13th. another 2 weeks. And unfortunately, it's not to be. But I inherited the most wonderful family they could possibly be. I don't know how caring they are. Not only the children, the grandchildren, and the great-grandchildren. It's a legacy that it's unsurpassed. And somebody said once, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And every one of these folks is unbelievably, not just talented, but just in their own right. They'll have their own being. It's just so wonderful. They came over here from Missouri, from Florida, from Texas, not just them singularly, but husbands and family. You don't see that very often. So that was wonderful. You know, somebody said, you say the word you love somebody. Maybe I'm overdoing it, but I don't even know what that word means anymore. Because people say, well, I love my new dress. I love my pants. I love my parents. I love that particular house. Can't there be a better word than just the word love? It just seems so singular, and it's just not good enough. One word should not represent everything. And in Barbara's case, it was a lot more than just that one word. You just can't. So we were married in the sunroom of the same house in which we live right now. And she was my realtor. I should write a book. I married my realtor. See how that would go. But she was a darn good realtor. She was one of the top 3 in Montgomery County at the time. And I met her because Lori introduced us. She probably just regrets that even to this day. She says, Mom, are you sure you want to marry him? He'd always told us different things and he never followed up, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, well, for some reason, she was I was single, obviously, and she was single. We had both gone through, let's just say, not the best relationships prior to that, and I think we were all hesitant to go the next step. But I had my son with us when I met her, and then we went to a restaurant, and I always thought she was going to get mad because Dougie was with us, because he was 5 at the time. Because dates I had gone on before, called it baggage. When you're married, if you're a woman or a man, if you have a child with you, that's baggage. She never looked at it as baggage. I couldn't imagine how better it could have turned out, because she was literally his mother for growing up through high school and beyond. She was the person that we all turned to. A lot of times they took sides against me, which I could live with. But she was everything you could imagine. But on a daily basis, especially since I retired and she was pretty much slowing down, she wasn't feeling too well. So I would get up 7 in the morning and look around, look at the stocks, look at the Post, do all the things that you do when you don't have a lot of other things to do. And I said, Barbara, it's 10:30, 11, you up? Because I wanted to make sure it's okay up there. And she said, oh, yeah, I'm okay. I said, all right, do you want something to eat? Yeah, but I can't do it yet because I got to wait a half hour for my pills. Apparently you have to wait. So she comes down, so 2 pieces of bacon and 1 egg, no more than 1. And she'd come down and then she'd look through her, right now she's got 3,697 emails. I just thought you'd share that with me. And for some reason, she felt like she had looked at them all. I don't know why. I said, do you know a lot of them are just useless? But she felt like she had to look at them anyway. And then after about the afternoon, she'd sit down in the lazy boy, put her feet up. She was tired a lot, even lately. And she would watch her 2 shows, American Family and Hallmark. The bane of Western civilization is Hallmark. But they have some very attractive women in Hallmark, so I'd watch it. The plots were kind of silly, but that's all right. And then she would oftentimes fall asleep watching it, but she knew she was going to fall asleep, so she taped it ahead of time. So a few hours later, she would say, oh, I missed the part, let me roll it back. I still have that. All I can say is, I'm not sure how it's going to go on after everybody leaves, because we have family staying with us. It's so nice. And they've all said, why don't you come down and visit and everything. I'm not sure. All I know is when I come down in the morning, make my coffee, read the Post, look at CNN, as Barbara loved CNN, and we'd be able to talk. Now I just watch the birds chirp and stare out. Wonderful time. I mean, spring is the most beautiful time. And she just loved gardening. So unfortunately, it's not a good time, but I'll make it through with usually basically because of all her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. I just love to see them. They are just unbelievable. And so, I'll leave you with this. I wish I could have like a regular speech, but I can't tell you. I can't have an expression in one word how much I adored her. And I don't know how we found each other. Thank you, Lori. But it was God's gift to both of us that we're able to share 35 years together. And obviously the last 5 weeks when she was in the hospital from March 21st until just a few days ago, it was heart-wrenching for all of us. I would send emails out and tell people that things are going right. And really, I didn't know. Finally, those who live in this area should be absolutely thrilled that we live in an area that has the medical facilities and the staff, the doctors and the nurses who are here and have supported us. Not only here, but when she was on Bestgate Road for the cancer, everything was convenient and everything was truly remarkable. Every nurse, they cared for her. Not just one or two, every shift they came in. Hi, Barbara, how you doing? Let me do, I don't know how you do it with other places because I don't go to too many hospitals, but they deserve whatever raises they will have in the future. The doctors were wondering if they'd call me up and say, how'd you done? How many doctors ever call you in the night and follow through? Anyway, thank you very much for coming. She obviously had many, many, not just relatives, but friends. And thank you.
We heard some beautiful words from people who knew her better than any. And I'm reminded of the expression from Ecclesiastes, which says, Shem Tov mi Shemen Tov. It's a pun. It means a good name is better than precious oil. And she spent a lifetime building up a really good name. She did so through her creativity and her dedication and determination, and she did so through her selflessness and her generosity and kindness. And she built up that good name from her wisdom and from her beauty and her love and her care that she showed so many people. She built up a good name from her humor, which she maintained literally until her final breaths. She certainly built a name based upon how many friends she had and how social she was and how easy it was to engage in conversation with her. And so when we talk about a good name being better than precious oil, she did spend a lifetime building that good name, but it certainly lasted. And she will be remembered truly for her legacy and the lessons that she leaves behind for us. So there's one more element here at the synagogue. And after we finish this last prayer at the synagogue, we'll then make our way by processional to the cemetery. And at the cemetery, we'll have the opportunity to hear words of wisdom from her Christian tradition, and in addition to also one final prayer at the cemetery as well. But for this, for this final expression here at the synagogue, I'd like to just read a poem, and then we will proceed to the next location. So this poem is written by a rabbi named Alvin Fine, and he writes that birth is a beginning and death is a destination. But life is a journey, a going and a growing from stage to stage. from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness, and often back again. From health to sickness and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, and from pain to compassion, and grief to understanding, and from fear to faith. From defeat to defeat to defeat until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey. Stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage made stage by stage, from birth to death, to life everlasting. And so at this time, I'm not sure, good, I see his face. This concludes our service here at the synagogue, but we'll be then taking it to the cemetery for more words and a few more rituals as well. What I'd like to do is ask everyone to please rise. No, I'll follow.